can see why it went viral, because it's absolutely batshit crazy.
Get lost!
You better go back where you came from.
That's not what I wanted to say. That is not what I wanted to say.
Well, he pressed it, so he got what he wanted. I will say, there are times where, now that I'm playing the game, and when we were recording this, I hadn't played the game at all, but there's definitely moments where on a whim, you hit a response very sort of spontaneously, and you don't get the result that you're expecting. And for this poor fellow, whose name I'm afraid I don't know, that's clearly what happened. So my apologies, my friend. Don't shoot the messenger. So I've got some nieces who are like TikTok obsessed, and they would send me like stuff like this. And I've got to say, I was always like, aside from the fact from being like hilarious and ridiculous, they're like really well put together. Some of the content they were sending me, I was like, this is really funny and intelligent, as well as like ridiculous and like designed to grab your attention.
Oh my God, that's how the swimming looks.
You learn to swim.
You would not believe what we did to make that swimming
Just now.
happen.
It is like, that is a great example of like the ludicrous stuff that you end up doing in performance capture. And the fact that like ultimately you don't actually need any more than that you go, I think people assume that there's quite a lot of bells and whistles and a lot of like technical support, but there isn't, because there doesn't need to be. But the good thing for me in that video, so Luke's character is supposed to be quite a good swimmer. Luckily for me, my character is not supposed to be a good swimmer. And it was, I can assure you, very easy for me to not be a good swimmer when I was sort of laying across a stool, just flailing around in a bit of spandex, which is how I make my living. Oh, okay.
I cannot, by the progress of the stars, give guess how near today.
Like a phantasma or a hideous dream. The genius and the mortal instruments are then in council, and the state of man, like to a little kingdom, suffers then the nature of an insurrection. Hide it in smiles and affability, for if thou path thy native semblance on, not Erebus itself were dim enough to hide thee from...
Do you know, I will say, that was, that I did have a moment when we were rehearsing that play, when I was like, I don't know if I can remember all these lines. And I made the decision, we had 5 weeks rehearsal, and I was a bit like, I'm not going to learn any of it before. I'm going to learn it all in rehearsals and just like make sure that it's like really organic and that I've done, you know, that I'm sort of learning it in the context of this production. And about 3 weeks in, I was like, well, that was fucking stupid. I should absolutely have got all of this under my belt before we started. It's really interesting seeing that, because obviously they're not designed to be filmed, but they filmed them for like, they had this like online portal, The Globe, where we did that, where they kind of put up all the shows. They did like a cinema screening of it when it first came out, and a mate took me as a surprise. I didn't know it was happening. And it is like, they're not designed to be watched on a massive screen. And I remember sitting and watching it, and my friend was like, it's great, isn't it? Like, you know, I thought I'd bring you for a surprise. And I was like, this is absolutely painful, watching myself on an enormous screen and we'd finished the run. So it's not like I could go back and make any changes to my performance. But you go, it was like, it was designed to be seen on a stage, like at some distance, not in close up on an enormous cinema screen. So I literally came out of that screening being like, I am the worst actor that has ever spoken on any stage ever. I know him from Wrong to 3, says all you need to know about me. It does. Thank you, Mr. Snuffles. If you listen closely, you can hear his stomach growling. You might have heard that a lot. I had dinner just before we got on this chat, and that happens quite a lot. So maybe that's just me serving like Hungry Henry vibes. Henry level 30 scholarship. I may be a natural 1.5, but I can act 30, and that's all that counts.
The person who thinks they're the smartest in the room usually isn't. So that was another test.
There you go. I'll take it.
Henry in the year of our Lord 1403 set in the Kingdom of Bohemia. And like most games, our quickest route is hiring the services of a lovely lady, which in this case are called bathhouses.
But you think you could do better than 56 minutes?
I definitely could not do better than 56 minutes, partly because I'm absolutely terrible at the game. So the whole point of my stream is that I'm not a natural gamer. So chat just helped me cheat, basically, because I'm like, if I was playing on my own, I wouldn't get anywhere and it would do anything. So no, I would not do it in 56 minutes. But what I will say is I actually could have done with you, Skylar, before every morning of recording, because we were like jumping around so many different like topics to hold any handle on the story or what on earth was going on at any given point. That's what I needed in my life, was like a speed run of like, these are the things that have happened to you, Henry. Go. But I still want the restraining order.
The last person you'll see on this godly earth. The choice is yours.
Please, good sir, let me pass. I have enough hardship in life as is. My mother recently passed away. I don't have a groschen to my name. I used to help the knacker haul corpses for a pittance. Then I had to lug pails of shit to the skimmer pit. I reeked so bad the villagers chased me away with sticks. This morning, I got swept away in the creek. I'm still dripping now. My friend lost a leg because of all the pus oozing out of it. I've got rid of most of the lice, so that rash on my back must be from something else.
Right. Go, please. Just go.
Wow, I've never seen that before. And let me tell you, one thing about recording 508 hours of voiceover is there's so much of it that you have absolutely no recollection of. And I have no memory of recording all that. But I can see why it went viral, because it's absolutely batshit crazy. I do remember, although I don't remember that line specifically, I do remember that there's loads of moments in the second game particularly where he's just bullshitting himself out of situations. And usually like at length and in a kind of very dramatic and like slightly ridiculous way, which is fine by me, because the other thing about doing 508 hours of voiceover is that you need those moments of lightness and stupidity, because my God, do they get you through. I was doing like 8-hour days, so like most of the actors were doing 4-hour sessions, but the only way to get through all that material without me just moving to Prague was for me to do like 2 4-hour sessions in a day. And obviously like keeping your, to keep your brain engaged for that amount of time over like 5 days was quite a lot. So moments like that were very welcome in terms of a bit of lightness. His awkwardness is sort of one of the key elements of who he is. He's not like a Lothario lad. The whole point is that he's not that person. And honestly, that makes him more fun to play. I wasn't really interested in playing a sort of like all fighting alpha. I was like, the character they've written, I think, is so much more interesting and complex. And I think that's why he appeals to a much broader spectrum of people. Because if you looked at the cover of the game, you'd be like, okay, this is just for like young lads that want to do, and you're like, it is for those people. But actually, there's so much more to this character that is, I think, much more compelling and interesting than if he was just out to do those things. But he also does those things.
There's a lot of like little stuff like that in the game where like you watch Game of Thrones and they just feel like you're watching Aliens, which you don't really realize it. You're like, yeah, this is what medieval times were like. But then when you're like playing Kingdom Come and going through it, it's like, oh yeah, they were people like us. People, like they were humans. There's even like the scene in the intro where like the two guys like dap each other up, two bros dapping each other up inside a castle.
No, totally. And I think that's the gorgeous thing about it is you go, as a playable character particularly, there has to be that sort of everyman quality that is relatable. And so you have to be like a real person, because otherwise no one is going to want to spend hundreds, not tens of hours into the second game particularly. So he's got to be a character that is empathetic and non-judgmental and appeals to people and like playful and silly and, rather than just this fully fledged alpha like James Bond-esque character. You're like, that wouldn't be that fun to play in this kind of style of game. And for me as an actor, that's much more fun and interesting.
Well, truth be told, we don't need to speak the same language to punch each other in the face.
Do you ever make fun of the extras who are just like the NPC voices and you call them like NPCs?
I never heard any of those voices when I was recording it. All I had on the other side was these like very brilliant, but like Czech designers and directors who were just like, who were brilliant at lots of things, but they weren't necessarily actors. So they would just read the lines sort of quite flat. And that's what I was getting back most of the time. So it's only when I start to play, now that I'm streaming the game, that I actually hear those. But to be honest, there's a small group of very brilliant native English speaking actors who live in Prague. And they, literally probably less than 20 of them. And they pretty much fill up the whole landscape of this game. And they're all absolutely brilliant. So as far as my playthrough's gone so far, I haven't met anyone along the way that sounds like in any way rubbish. Like every single character is really well done. So props to those guys.